Hi everyone, I'm delighted to be able to welcome Erkan Ali onto the call today, who I met a few years ago as part of the Be Collaboration uh, group. And I got involved with Beyond Mainstream literally just a few weeks ago when this whole coronavirus pandemic started off. Uh, and little did I know what was going to become of that situation, but here we all are. And since that time, the Beyond Mainstream group has grown and grown and grown. We're over 700 members at the minute, more joining every day. And so we thought it would be a good opportunity to get together with Erkan and let him explain a little bit more about the mission and purpose and what he actually wants to achieve within this group. So before we get straight down to the nitty gritty, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? And then we'll talk about the group.
Yeah, thank you, Shulagh. I really appreciate you taking on this interview because it's fantastic. So thanks. I'm 52 in July. I know probably many people believe that, but it's true. I'm 52, so I kind of remember a world pre-digital. And I also was born to Turkish Cypriot parents, so they were immigrants in the UK, which meant that I had a different perspective of the world than most people that I was with in life, as a kid growing up. So at school, it was English school, English norms, got, singing hymns and things like that, and Christianity at school. And then I'd go home, my parents would tell me I'm a Muslim and I'm Turkish Cypriot and my blood's Turkish Cypriot. And my dad's quite nationalistic, so he's kind of very, very Turkish, And I just found that I didn't really buy into any of them. So one minute they're telling me this, and I didn't really buy them, and I didn't buy them. And I kind of, from a very young age, I realised things aren't as people think they are. Like I had this inquisitive, I think we all have a natural, innate, inquisitive way of being as children. We want to, why? I had that anyway. But from a very early age, I knew that there isn't a narrative to the way the world works. So I kind of knew that things. And about the age of 11, well, maybe even about 11, we drove to Turkey and Cyprus by car. So I got to see Germany, Austria, Bulgaria, Yugoslavia back then as it was. Very different countries with very different borders. And you kind of notice that the streetlights aren't even the same in certain countries. People dress differently. Their cars look different. Food's different. So kind of, I was aware of this multi perspectives to the world from a very young age. So I never really bought into anybody's, you're a Muslim and you're this, or you've got to be this, or I just kind of went, no, it doesn't fit for me, and I'll do what I want. So that's me. I don't know if you want to respond to any of that. But so I was kind of quite, and I wasn't really afraid of people. I wasn't like, I'd get kicked out of class because I'd just go, well, I don't think that's right. And I'd challenge teachers and they just, get out. You can't ask questions, you can't disagree. So I was kind of, and I think I said a couple of times, I'm quite seasoned in challenging information and thinking and trusting my own view of it. And I don't think a lot of people have that.
Yeah, I'd agree, definitely. I mean, I had similar conflicts when I was growing up, and what with my mum being a Jehovah's Witness and me being a very rebellious teenager. But I don't think I ever got quite to that same point of challenging officialdom, like with teachers and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was called Gaddafi by some of my teachers. This is in the 80s. It's basically a racist statement, but because I wouldn't bow down. I wasn't like a bad kid. I wasn't a violent kid or a bad kid. I was just like, I'm just questioning you and what you're telling me, and they just didn't like that at all. So.
Yeah, and PC didn't exist back then, so they could say what they liked.
It was quite a racist time, actually. Yeah.
So why did you set up Beyond Mainstream?
Well, so the idea of Beyond Mainstream has been part of my life, again, as long as I can remember, really. But when I set up Be Collaboration back in, 7-8 years ago, was a community forwarding the skills and abilities of collaboration where we met originally, was to bring people together, good people. We wanted to improve their abilities, their communication, their effectiveness in life. but also there was always an element of educating people with non-mainstream information, because the way the mainstream presents the challenges and the things, like, we can fix it within the mainstream, but if you kind of look outside the borders and the limits of the mainstream, you realize that actually this challenge is not the way it seems. And I was always kind of sharing those ideas with people. So the idea of beyond mainstream, the red pill zone, was the willingness and having the courage to explore off the mainstream. But the problem is, as soon as you start going off mainstream, you've got to start getting your wits about you. You've got to be careful who you listen to, what information is being shared. There's this whole conspiracy theory, which we could say a bit more about. This demonization of people that ask questions and say, I don't actually agree with that. I can see it could be a different way. And there's a lot of resistance by the main populace when you kind of say something a little bit anti-norm or contrary to norm. So that was definitely an element of it for me. So the actual name Beyond Mainstream, about 3 years ago, I set up a Mighty Network little community page in that, and I just, for my own sanity, I just put all the videos and all the talks that I thought were interesting in one place under different headings, and that's really, it was kind of a place for me to store very, very good information. And I'm sure I'm not normal, so I can tell you that right now. I'm prolific. So I'm a prolific, obsessive, compulsive. You know, when I get into something, I'm not like most people. So usually people say, oh, have you heard of blah blah? And I go, yeah. Have you heard of blah blah? Yeah. Or people say, did you watch blah blah on telly last night? I go, yeah. And I was watching the other side. Yeah, I watched that as well. And I go, well, how can you watch both? Because I'll flick. So I'll watch two programs at the same time, or I'll be cooking and watching the talks, or I go to bed at night with my headphones on and I listen to maybe, 4 or 5 hours of stuff every night for the last 25 years.
Here's a question for you. What qualifies as being good information? How do you personally discern that?
That is a really good question. I think when you've done a certain amount of research, you start to work out the lay of the land in your own way. You kind of start to put the puzzle together. And I think I said this the other day on a video, there'll be sprinkling of lies, and in there will be like a little bit of truth, lies. And then on the other side, you have truth, lie, right? So you have to be self-qualified. You've got to, in my opinion, you've got to make yourself the authority. You've got to go, right, I'm going to make sense of this for me. Like a certain level of investigative journalism. So I'm not a health expert, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an engineer, but it doesn't mean I can't look at something and kind of work out what I think is happening here. I trust myself, and I don't devolve my power to an expert or a specialist. I'm like willing to say, well, I've looked at that and this is how it occurs to me. And I think the thing now we have that probably no generations have had ever is a huge glut of information. Now the challenge is, how do you pick out the bits that seem to be the most relevant? And I think in our traditional education, there's always a right answer, and it's in the back of the book, and don't collaborate, and it's like there's an official narrative. I think when you're starting to explore how the world works, there isn't a right answer. So that gives you a little bit of respite, because you think, well, okay, so then there's maybe as close to that reality as I can get. And that's really the way I kind of take it on.
So going back to the group, what do you think, or what would you like to be the difference between this group and a lot of the other groups that people are engaging with at the moment? Because we know on Facebook there's scores of them. People are dumping information into these groups at a rate of, well, that's probably never been seen before. What with all the information that we're unearthing and new viral videos coming out literally by the day, what makes us different?
Well, to be honest, I can't answer that question definitively because I'm not a member of many groups. So, but what I have done is I've connected with a lot of different independent speakers, researchers, different shows, whether it's UK Column or the Richie Allen Show, and I've connected more directly with specific speakers and authors. So, what group their information ends up in, I imagine it's a lot of the same stuff being circulated. But what I would say, what I'd really like to see within Beyond Mainstream, is not just a consciousness dump or a place to go, yeah, I agree, or I disagree, and arguments and debate. That's all kind of academic to it. So it's like, well, okay, we've got a grip on what we think is happening. There's momentum in that area. What can we do to make the impact and the difference? Now, the reality is there is a lot of people that don't have the non-mainstream information. So as they're coming into that world, I'd like Beyond Mainstream to be kind of a place where we've filtered out a lot of the nonsense. You can't filter it all out. Just recently, there was the police officer, I think Anderson, that was in his police car giving a direct video to the world. Everyone went, "Wow, what an amazing, police officer is!" And then now he's being called out as a fake. So you can't, and I'd like to put some. If I put some information up, and someone says, "Look, I checked that out, mate. That's a load of rubbish." I'll go, "Well, let me check." Because if it's rubbish, it's rubbish. And if it isn't, if it's not about opinion and being right, and it's about the information, then the information stands up for itself, I think. So use the information to create some impetus or momentum around some action. That's, I think, what we're really looking for.
And that leads me on really well to the next question, because we know at the moment, like, huge action is required, the way things are going, the situation changing literally hour by hour, day by day. Why are people struggling so much with knowing what action to take?
Surely, you really thought your questions through, haven't you? No, I think that's a really fantastic question. Yeah, where do you start? Well, look, it's like the old adage: is how do you eat an elephant? It's massive. So it's big, it's complex, it's moving. The ground below our feet is moving all the time. The reality is, a lot of the information we're getting is, look, if me and you had an argument, and someone asked you, "Oh, you had an argument with Erkan?" Yeah, he blah blah blah, and someone asked, "Oh, you had an argument with Shulagh?" I'd give them my version. We had the argument, and we still would disagree what the argument was about. And then if you tell other people about it, or you go and broadcast it, then they're going to have a view of the argument we had that's through you and through their own filters. So you can see how the puzzle gets very complex very quickly. But I think where I think is in terms of action is take action, small action every day, forwarding something, and we've got to think about that. Whatever that action is, it's accumulating. We are an aggregate. We're able to aggregate some action. So whether it is, look, if you're good at, I've had people say to me, "Oh, you should start a legal case against the government," and I'm like, "No, you should start a legal case against the government. You should write a letter to your MP." So people come and tell me what I should be doing. I'm like, well, I am doing what I think's the best thing for me to be doing, and for me is to build the community, to support people encourage them to learn and share and grow, and help catalyze them connecting with other people to go then make the impact that they want to make. A direct action for me is, for example, is setting up the natural law team and starting to develop leaders within the community. That's my best self-expression. I could write a letter to the MPs. Now, if someone said to me, "Look, here's a copy of it, all you have to do is sign it and send it," if you're good at writing the letters, or you're good at bringing a legal case, and you ask me to do something, make it easy for me to help you better do the bits that you want to do, that where your skills or abilities are. So what I would say to you is that, focus on your abilities and skills, that what comes natural for you, what you're really passionate about, and then use them to make the impact in whatever area, whether that's 5G, making sure we don't get vaccinated, protecting us from a virus, if that's what you think there is out there, how to be financially viable. So whatever that subject matter is, use your innate skills and your most valuable assets to make that contribution.
If someone was feeling really stuck, what would you say to them? If someone's really struggling to know what to do.
Then, well, let's say what comes to mind maybe is two things. One, there's a personal issue, right? Now, that's not a bad thing, because the personal stuff's always there. So whether it's a lack of confidence, or you don't want to be caught out, like you've got it wrong, or what will people think of you? So my background is coaching and business performance coaching and coaching people. So given that the challenge is even bigger and a bigger, tougher, more confronting challenge, then whatever you've got going on about yourself is probably going to be, it's a bit like alcohol. if you're whatever you're like sober, drinking doesn't help. It just makes the problem worse. So if you're in that position, then I'd make a request to get some coaching, or read some books or material that will help you in your own personal performance. Now, if it's not the personal issue, I think you recently started writing. So writing is quite confronting. One, blank page. Two, once you get it out, the ridicule, the challenge, or the agreement. Because if people start loving it, then what? Oh my God, do I have to write another one? Am I going to be as So the whole thing brings up a whole load of personal concerns. So I'd say if it's a personal concern, chances are it's familiar, and chances are it's a great opportunity to resolve it or break through that personal limit or concern. So that's great. If it's not a personal concern, it's literally where do I start? I want to do something. Then maybe a little bit more information, a little bit more researching in an area that you're passionate about. So it could be you want to do something around 5G, but you really haven't kind of lined the ducks up yet. You're still trying to work it out for yourself. So what I'd recommend, we are doing weekly calls on Beyond Mainstream, and it's a chance to verbalise either the concern or maybe I'm missing something here. I want to do something around 5G. What is everyone else doing? What do you think? And I think that will help you just get over that little hump, just kind of go, yeah, I didn't even, yeah, okay. And it's not even that you don't know that there is those things to do, but it could be that somebody else is doing it, and they go, well, this is what I did. Well, I can do that. I spoke to a lady yesterday, and she says she's done these leaflets, and she's giving out leaflets around town, letting people know about UK column. And I went, that's fantastic. Can you put the leaflet PDF onto the Facebook group and the platform so someone else can download it, alter it, and use it? So there's another little bit of the puzzles out. You've just got another bit of the puzzle out of the way that helps someone. Just that little tip into action could make a difference. So I think those two things. If it's personal, read a book, get some coaching, get over that hump. And if it's actually pragmatic, find out what other people are doing, and you think, well, I could do that, and then you can get on with it.
Yeah, I love that idea of just being a little fire starter in your own area. And then the more of these little fires that we get going, that's when things really start to catch on and take hold. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
What's your vision for the group as we move forwards? How do you see things developing?
Do you know what I'd love to see Beyond Mainstream. We have a Mighty Network platform. In that platform, so let's say at the moment we're 700, just over 700. It's May the 18th. We're just over 700 members, or people that have liked the page. I mean, I don't really want to even call them members, but they're part of the group. But if we can migrate as many people over to the platform, then we can create some momentum around subjects, create groups. There's a lot of talent within the group. I mean, a lot of the people that are in the group are either coaches or self-employed, or they're interesting people with lots of talent. So we could create products and offerings within the community. There's some things that I'm working on in that respect. So we could create, 700 people. There's a certain amount of momentum, but at 7,000, 70,000, then we can parlay our activity a lot more and accelerate what we can do. Whether that's writing to MPs, training each other, creating momentum around specific subjects. So that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see people that are willing to be open and learn, want to contribute, want to do something. And if people want to learn and they're willing to do something, then the kind of, it writes itself after that.
Awesome. One more question. And this is really just to leave things on a positive note. What positive things do you think we can actually take from current events?
You know what? I had a bit of a depression about 2-3 years ago because I thought no one's listening. And the perceived problem in any marketing or any kind of business opportunity, you've got to have a problem that people perceive they've got, so you can give them a solution to that problem. I think this COVID-19, whatever it is, and the lockdown that's gonna put a lot of businesses and livelihoods and wealth and assets into danger or into peril, is going to make people go, what's going on here? Why are we shut down? Because of whatever. So if there's a release of people asking questions and want to find out and want to do something about it, well, couldn't be better timing, really, could it?
Absolutely. Well, that's it. thank you very much for answering those questions and just sharing with us a little bit more about what your thoughts are on how we can really move ahead and make a positive difference in a world that has just gone completely crazy. Um, and just hope that more of the members of Beyond Mainstream will take up the call to action and get involved on a sort of higher level.
Yeah, I mean, if not now, when? If not you, then who? You know, it's like it's up to us. I think I used to say this is a civic duty. You know, it's your civic duty to stand up for your society and your community. And it's not a consumer choice anymore. I think, you know, what side of history do you want to be on?
Yeah, exactly. I've certainly felt that calling within myself, and it's forced me to up my game and look how I can create more change in my own life and then extend that out uh, far and wide. So brilliant. I've certainly got an awful lot of value from being in the group, and I'm loving what I'm getting from it, and sort of the people I'm meeting every day and the interactions. It's fantastic, and it's been a lifeline.
Mm,
So
thank you.
thank you again.